What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. So, as roller coaster enthusiasts, we have many amusement parks to choose from. Many amusement parks with different types of rides and roller coasters that can appeal to different types of people. And today, I'm going to be talking about some of those parks that might not be as talked about as some of the big ones. Where I walk out of these parks saying that I wish that they were talked about more in the roller coaster community, and by the general public as a whole. This is actually a part 2 to a video I made a few months ago, so let's get into this part 2, where I look at more underrated parks. This is Cedar Flags, and today, I'm going to be looking at the most underrated parks I've been to, part 2. The first park I want to talk about is Family Kingdom in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Now, there is a lot to do in the Myrtle Beach area, but I would say that Family Kingdom is easily one of the highlights. This park has thrills from all sorts of generations. The main coaster at this park is Swamp Fox, which is a classic PTC wooden coaster, and this has got to be one of my favorite of the genre. And this really is in the upper tier of these classic PTC wooden coasters. In fact, I would say that it is both one of the smoothest wooden coasters I've ever been on, old and new, and one of the strongest airtime filled PTCs. This ride also has an incredible view of Myrtle Beach in the ocean, and it just has an overall great beachside feel. This park also has many supporting rides, including the Pistolero Roundup, which is a very unique and awesome dark ride. This dark ride is very unlike others, but that's what makes it so much better. This park also has a standout log flume. They round out to make an impressive ride collection at a beautiful looking park. For the next park, we are going to somewhere a little bigger. This park is Six Flags America, located in Maryland, between DC and Baltimore. I actually have not been able to get to this park up until this past year, and I definitely thought it was a great, underappreciated park, which I think is a great time. When I first went, I both got on some great roller coasters and loved how friendly the staff was. And on top of that, the park itself just looks beautiful. If you walk around, the scenery just looks great. Now, it does give mainly Six Flags vibes, but it was maintained very well, and there are a lot of trees and buildings that are detailed extremely well. The two main parts that stuck out for me were the main midway when you enter the park, looked very nice, and the Mardi Gras section. The buildings, the rides, the color schemes of everything, it just fits in all together. But what is this park without its coaster collection and its top 2? I truly think that this park has one of the greatest top 2s in the region. You have a flying coaster in Batwing, honestly one of my favorite flying coasters. And then you of course have Superman Ride of Steel, the best ride in the park in my opinion. This park also has an extraordinary top 2 in Superman Ride of Steel, an airtime filled Intamin with a great layout, and Batwing, a forceful flying coaster, and honestly, one of my favorite flying coasters. It's very forceful, and gives that flying sensation. And then of course you have the supporting rides. This park has a lot of supporting rides. The first one I want to talk about is Wild One. This ride has lots of history, being over 100 years old, and it has a great airtime filled layout that has never fallen out of date. And then in the Mardi Gras section I was talking about earlier, you have Ragin' Cajun, which is a very unique Wild Mouse, as in it spins very fast. The park is also not too big of a layout, so you won't be walking around all day. It is just a very well-rounded park, and even though I could see more improvements in the next few years, I think this park is a very enjoyable place. For our next spot, we are going to go from Maryland to New York to talk about Rochester's very own Seabreeze. This is a classic amusement park overlooking the shores of Lake Ontario, and it's even on a little hill. This park has a great ride collection of rides from all ages, and it preserves its rides and midways extremely well. First off, there are signs all over the park documenting the history of the place, talking about different rides that have come and gone, or rides that have been remodeled, or even rides that have been retrofitted. You have many things to do on the midway itself, and you have beautiful scenery. Everywhere you look, you have some good shrubbery, or a very nice detailed building. And the park even has a museum inside the carousel building, which I thought was awesome. I absolutely love when parks add these small museums that add a lot of charm to the history of the park and inform guests that want something extra to do. And when it comes to the ride collection, this park does not let up. First off, you have the Jackrabbit, which is a classic wooden coaster from the 1920s, and it still runs great. I love the layout of this ride, and especially the finale, but I think the highlight of this park is honestly Bobsleds, which is a homemade coaster, which is a coaster that the park built themselves, but has an extreme fun factor to it, as it is one of a kind. You also have the park's log flume, which has a drop that's modeled after an older Shoot the Chutes ride, and it's a very fun drop. On top of that, this park has a good flat ride collection and some good. To round out the bigger coasters, you also have Whirlwind, which is a Mauer spinner, and honestly one of the better ones with a great view, and it rounds out an amazing park with some amazing charm. For the next spot, we are going to go to Missouri to talk about Worlds of Fun. Now, this is another park that is located in the Six Flags chain, but I feel like out of all of the Six Flags parks, this is one that I feel like enthusiasts talk about a lot less. But this park really stood out to me and very much impressed me. So why is that? Well, first off, I truly think it has some of the best theming in the entire chain. You look around and everything has some sort of personality. You have great looking buildings, lots of trees, fun midways, and a round the world theme featuring different building styles. So this park just has a very distinct, different feel that I don't feel at a lot of other parks of a similar size. But when we look into this park's ride collection, it gets even better. First off, I want to talk about Prowler, which is my favorite coaster at the park and one of my favorites when it comes to wooden coasters. This truly is one of the best wooden coasters I've ever been on, as this layout's just incredibly fast-paced the entire time. From that first drop to the final brake run, you are rushing through the woods, and to say the least, you are getting some crazy ejector and some great whip out in those woods. And then you also have Mamba, which is a Morgan hypercoaster, and a coaster I ended up loving a lot more than I thought. I knew I was gonna like it. I loved it though. This ride has a very large variety of floater and ejector airtime, and it just keeps on going. And in my opinion, both this and Prowler give this park an unforgettable top 2 that you cannot skip. You also have some very good supporting coasters. My third favorite at the park is Timberwolf. This ride is phenomenal. GCI did some phenomenal track work on this a few years back, and the ride runs as good as new. The final park I want to talk about is located in the Midwest in Iowa. Now, this is Lost Island Theme Park, which is an addition of the Lost Island Water Park. Now, this park is only operated for 3 seasons, but it already has a phenomenal ride collection that seriously has some of the best flats and coasters in the region. This park has a lot of unique features, it has a lot of good theming, and it has a very wide variety of rides that you would not expect at your average American park. The park is very well themed, and everywhere you look there is some sort of personality that adds to the Lost Island experience. Every ride fits the part of a Lost Island flat ride, and looks like it's distinct to this park. And it's a park that really does have its own unique feel, which I know I love. But looking at some of the biggest rides there, they have Matsugani, which is the highlight attraction. This is a very underrated coaster within itself. It is an intimate hydraulic launch coaster with a lot of fast-paced and low-to-the-ground elements. The very fast-paced elements and hang-time-filled inversions on the ride make this ride a very well-rounded experience, and a ride that I got on again and again and again. You also have Napuko, which is an SLC. It is an inversion machine for the park and the park's invert. And then you have Volcano, which isn't a coaster, but it is the park's dark ride. And then to round it all out, you have a top-tier flat ride collection. You have a Topspin, an S&S Drop Tower, a Gerstlauer Skyfly, a 360 Revolution ride, a Zamperla Disco, and much, much more. And all of these rides, like I said, are very well themed to the rest of the park around it. Everything just blends in here, and it makes the park look amazing and great. And to add to all of that, they're adding a new roller coaster next year in Fire Runner and RMC Raptor. So if you've been to any of these parks, let me know what you thought about them. I personally loved all 5 of these, and I cannot wait to get back. Let me know in the comments what you think your most underrated parks are, and until next time, this is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.